Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, my YouTube family. Good evening, my Clubhouse family. I see y'all. Ooh, it is Thursday. Y'all, it's Thursday, April the 8th. And you know what time it is? You know what time it is. It is Keeping Up with Congress. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. If you're watching me here on YouTube, hit that like button, please. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notifications button. Make sure you are keeping up with Congress. You know, I come to you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Clubhouse, right here on YouTube at Tamara Shealy. So thank you for joining me tonight. Let me share my screen so we can get this party started. You know, this is always brought to you by Withhold the Vote. Withhold the Vote, where we are holding our elected officials and our candidates accountable. No more do we go to the polls and get pimped. The pimp game is over. We don't give it away for free no more. We want something in exchange for this vote. You're not getting it for free. So withhold the vote does not mean don't vote. Don't demonize it for those that have tried. Does not mean don't vote. It just means we're going to be intentional. It means we're going to be strategic. We're just not going to go to the polls and just vote for a D or R or a blackface or because it's a woman. No, we're smarter than that. It's about policy, and do these policies work for us? If not, we withhold the vote. So if you're watching me live here on YouTube, I'm sharing my screen so you can follow along. Let me get this party started, y'all. You know, I always like to bring you some reparations news. I follow it all, y'all. I keep up with it. I like to bring you reparations news. So this article is about The Japanese American redress and the African American reparations is intertwined. I found this today online. This article says when Satsuki Ina's mother received her reparations check from the U.S. government, an apology for incarcerating over 120,000 Japanese Americans between 1942 and 1945. The check ended up somewhere in a stack of papers piled high on her desk. Y'all, you see that's highlighted red, right? Because if a check comes in the mail, I don't think none of us gonna stack it up on a pile of papers and let it stay on the desk. We taking that baby straight to the bank. So that's what her mother did. She said the check ended up somewhere in a stack of papers piled high on her desk. Instead, a framed apology letter leaning against the wall caught Ina's eye. So she wasn't happy about the apology letter. We want the check. I don't know if I even care about an apology, but nevertheless, this is her story. It says, "What does this mean for you?" Ina asked her mother. She says, "I feel like I finally got my face back," her mother replied. Ina says of her mother, "It was the loss of dignity, the loss of her humility that had been like a ghost hovering over her and her descendants. The apology may not have made a dent in her physical life, but Ina says her mother had reclaimed her honor and had, in a sense, been given back her humanity." Cut the check. Cut the check. That'll give me back my humanity. Cut the check. Article goes on to say this country's failure to address past slavery and present day discrimination is of lethal proportions. We wish to have an America that is truly free and fair. We must be in solidarity together, said the ACLU Washington Executive Director Michelle Storms. Goes on to say why we need reparations. Reparations is a process of repair, reckoning, healing, and reclaiming all aspects highlighted by the program's panelists. This is a program that they were having up in Washington State. At the heart of our current American context of reparations is a radical necessity to mend deep-seated racial injustices perpetuated by white supremacist ideologies which lie at the heart of all institutions. Goes on to say reparations is really about repairing that harm, about correcting those historical wrongs and realizing that they still exist in contemporary times when we think about structural and institutional racism. It says while slavery does not exist in the manifestation that it did 200 years ago, the long-term effects of being disenfranchised and dehumanized continue to affect Black Americans. Yes, it does. I'm glad they're talking about it. So this is an article. It was a pretty lengthy article. It was, kind of correlating, it was correlating the Japanese American experience with our experience and our call for reparations. Quite lengthy, but I thought they headed in the right direction with this article. Jeka said her mother didn't cash that check. I would have. The next article that I found was an article out of Marshall, Texas, y'all. So look, Evanston ain't the only city that's looking at reparations, that's doing something. There's this Marshall, Texas, y'all. Marshall, Texas, Texas of all states. A Marshall City Council member believes descendants of slaves within the city should receive reparations and an apology. Marvin Bonner will be proposing a resolution outlining just that during Thursday's City Council meeting. He represents District 1 for City Council and also serves as a member of the NAACP. This article goes on to say African Americans have been misused and mistreated for years, Bonner explained. It's time for them at least to apologize. It says according to federal records, Harrison County had more slaves than any other county in Texas in the 1850s and 1860s. Bonner said much of the area is built on the backs of African Americans. So there it is, y'all. Texas, Marshall, Texas is gearing up to put in their proposal and their answer to their descendants of chattel slavery in the state of Texas. Everything helps. It keeps the narrative going. So this is how we push. We push this thing from the ground up. HR 40 is in the House. Senate Bill 40 is over in the Senate. I haven't found any news, no traction on what's going on with this. I'm hopeful that they're talking about it. We just don't know. But we're going to keep doing our work right here on the ground, y'all. So that's Marshall, Texas. Another article I found, it says, can reparations cure racism? This author asserts that the repair of Black America will bring healing to all America. I really am interested to hear his perspective. I'm a spiritual person, and he speaks from a very spiritual perspective about reparations. And it says in his book, this is Demarius Johnson. He used to be an NFL player. So here it is. It says in his book, Reparations Now and Why, Healing America's Racial Divide. He cites the biblical account of Israel's deliverance from Egypt after 400 years of slavery. Johnson says when the Hebrew slaves left captivity, Moses, and specifically, and I highlighted this, y'all, specifically the women of the individual families of Israel demanded payment of silver and gold. Just leads me to think that that's why we women, Black women, are pushing and rising up right now, demanding, as they did in biblical times, silver and gold. Goes on to say, in the same way, this Buffalo pastor says the United States government owes descendants of enslaved people a national debt. In the article, it says, in the wake of the racial unrest of 2020, new polls reveal 2 out of 5 white Americans support discussing reparations in some form. It's up 16% in just 1 year. Let's keep pushing, y'all. We'll take it. And a recent civics poll reports nearly 80% of Americans now believe racial and ethnic discrimination is a problem in the United States. Yeah. With the tide of change growing in favor of this long-fought battle, Johnson urges Black Americans to learn the biblical mandates and stand on God's law to bring about retribution for his people. We are living in biblical times. I do believe that reparations is going to happen. I do believe we're going to live to see it. According to Johnson, who quotes Ecclesiastes, to everything there is a season. Johnson says the time to demand rightful payment for generations of free labor is now. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. One other part of the article says one Southern pastor, Dr. Larry Kefauver, admits he read Reparations Now and Why to refute Johnson's claim. But according to the well-known Bible teacher, when he turned the pages of the book, he had a revelation of Christ's heart for American descendants of slaves and of all Black America. After reading Johnson's account, he encourages the church to weep, repent, and then act justly and righteously. When he read that book, he was convicted, y'all. I think we need to pass this book around to all the white pastors. I'm anxious to. I may have to read this one, y'all. This is something that I want to hear what the word says. I know we living in some not just historical times, but definitely some biblical times. So reparations is here. Reparations is now. Let's just keep doing the work, y'all. You know, I always like to bring you a little bit of Black business news as well. So Target, y'all. Target says it will spend more than $2 billion with Black-owned businesses by 2025. It should. They should, y'all. Target said it will hire more Black-owned companies, launch a program to identify and support promising minority entrepreneurs, and add products for more than 500 Black-owned brands to its shelves or websites. So if y'all know somebody with a product, y'all better push up on Target. Push up on Target to get on these shelves in these stores, y'all. Although the discounter said Wednesday it will spend more than $2 billion with Black-owned businesses by 2025. Altogether, y'all, the discounter said Wednesday it will spend more than $2 billion with Black-owned businesses by 2025. Goes on to say the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and protests across the country have ratcheted up pressure on corporate leaders to advance racial equity and do more than simply cut a check or risk losing business. The uneven death toll of the coronavirus pandemic and financial toll of the recession also spotlighted the country's sharp racial disparities with healthcare and economic opportunities. George Floyd was killed in Target's hometown in Minneapolis, now the site of the murder trial for the police officer who kneeled on Floyd's neck. One Target store located near the site of Floyd's death had to be completely rebuilt, and some of its other stores were damaged during the rioting. Generation Z, I thought this was interesting about the article. It says Generation Z, the group of teens and early 20-somethings who are aging into shopping and establishing relationship with brands, care more about social justice, y'all, compared with former generations, according to an annual survey of teens by Piper Sandler released Wednesday. Teens surveyed by the firm ranked racial equity as their most important political and social issue, followed by the environment and Black Lives Matter. So look, this next generation, these Generation Zs, they woke. These white kids are woke. Keeping up with Congress, y'all. Of course, I told you this is always brought to you by Withhold the Vote, where we hold our elected officials and our candidates accountable. If you have not gone to the website, please do. Withholdthevote.org does not mean don't vote. It means we ain't going to be pimped no more. That's what it means. So let's dive into the bills. Thank you for staying with me, Clubhouse. Thank you for staying with me, my YouTube family. You know, this is only a half hour. This is our homework. This is where we do the homework. This is where, like I said, we will never be experts in all of this, but we're going to know the players and we're going to know the game. So we got to get acclimated and very familiar with hearing these bills, knowing about these bills, knowing who these legislators are, knowing their names. This is how we keep up with Congress, y'all. We're not going back to the polls in 2022 and just show up. We need people running across this country and races across this country, y'all. Not just in my state, but your state, everybody's state. We need real people running. HR 796, HR 796 is the Coverage for COVID-19 Treatment Act of 2021, introduced by Representative Blunt, Lisa Blunt Rochester. She's a Democrat at large from Delaware. This bill requires private health insurance plans to cover, without any cost sharing requirement, medically necessary services for individuals who have been diagnosed with or are presumed to have COVID-19. So they want to say you don't have to pay anything with your private insurance company if you have COVID. Hell, they're getting enough money from the federal government. I appreciate it, Lisa. Representative Blunt, Lisa Blunt, Democrat out of Delaware, HR 796. HR 797 to designate the facility of the United States Postal Service located at 24930 Washington Avenue in Murrieta, California, as the Riverside County Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans Memorial Post Office. I thought that was interesting that you're going to name it Iraq and Afghanistan. I looked this up, y'all, because I wanted to understand why they chose to name it the Riverside County Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans Memorial Memorial Post Office. I didn't get it. Republican Ken Calvert, Republican out of California. I found no information, but I did look because it was just like, why would you want to name it after Iraq and Afghanistan? Didn't make sense to me. See, I tell you, if I was in Congress, I would be asking a whole lot of questions. They would not like me. HR 798. HR 798 is the COVID-19 Home Safety Act of 2021. This is Representative Tony Cardenas, Democrat out of California. This bill requires the Consumer Product Safety Commission to report and publish information about injuries and deaths from consumer products during the COVID-19 pandemic. So y'all, are they just making up stuff? So I don't know. It could be a thing, and I just don't know. It just sounds kind of weird. Consumer products during the pandemic. Are they trying to say that people didn't die from COVID? Okay, so I did find the press release. So it says recent reports indicate that pediatricians and emergency room doctors have seen an increase in patients seeking treatment for home injuries. This bill will require the Consumer Product Safety Commission to study the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on injuries and deaths associated with consumer products. So here's what the congressman had to say. He says, the pandemic has changed the way we interact with the world around us. While we work to address the challenges that come with these changes, we must also address the very real problems of consumer safety and home injuries brought on by stay-at-home orders. Whether the increase in injury risk are caused by an increase in online product purchases or simply because families and children are spending more time at home, we must ensure that these products are safe for the American consumer. My bipartisan bill will require this issue to be studied so that lawmakers can take appropriate measures to protect consumers and American children. So it's a study, y'all. See, they're going to create a study. They're going to study it for how long? And who going to sit on these commissions? Oh, y'all. This is how they spending our money. Keeping up with Congress, y'all. HR 798. HR 799 is the Tax Identity Protection Act. The Tax Identity Protection Act. This bill directs the Internal Revenue Service to report on the Taxpayer Identification Number Perfection Program, including an explanation of the extent to which program information could be used to identify individuals receiving wages without work authorization. So there's some loophole. This is Buddy Carter, Representative Buddy Carter, Republican out of Georgia. So this is him in some loophole that he trying to close up. I did kind of look it up, and it gave me the impression that it was like some sort of loophole with the taxpayer ID and your social and I don't know, Buddy Carter, y'all. This is why we have to get behind the scenes and do the work, because some of this stuff you don't know what it is until you dive into it. That's the Tax Identity Protection Act, HR 799. HR 800, y'all, we're almost at the half hour, just a few more minutes. HR 800, Preference for Local Veteran Contractors Act. This bill requires the Department of Veteran Affairs to give preference to local contractors for purposes of awarding contracts for the construction or maintenance of a VA facility or for services provided to a particular VA facility or campus. So it wants to give preferential treatment to the veterans as they do work on the VA and the campuses around the VA, which makes sense. Democrat Steve Cohen, Democrat out of Tennessee, HR 800. HR 801, Expanding Medical Education Act. This is Democrat Jim Costa, Representative Jim Costa out of California, the Expanding Medical Education Act. So this legislation is to provide $1 billion in funding for medical school construction, expansion and training in underserved communities that lack quality access to quality health care. So yeah, he says, we simply do not have enough doctors for our growing population, a problem only made worse by the coronavirus pandemic. This bill makes a significant investment to train medical professionals who want to stay and serve our community by building a medical school in the Valley. This is part of his district. Growing our own doctors is the only way to confront this doctor shortage and improve access to health care for everyone in the Valley and other regions that are underserved. So this is Representative Costa, Democrat out of California, Expanding Medical Education Act. HR 802, the Tax Assistance for Crumbling Foundations. Now, I thought this was interesting. Tax Assistance for Crumbling Foundations Act. So listen to this. This is a bill that would provide new support to Connecticut homeowners impacted by the crumbling foundation crisis. I didn't know what crumbling foundation. Listen to this. Courtney and Larson's bill would provide significant federal tax assistance to homeowners with crumbling foundations by restoring and extending the federal casualty loss tax deduction for crumbling foundation repair costs. So crumbling foundation, is this personal? Is this on their homes? Like, y'all, our new bill, his Representative Courtney, he says, our new bill picks up where the 116th Congress left off. The Tax Assistance for Crumbling Foundations Act will keep the clock from running out on homeowners who wish to receive federal tax assistance through the casualty loss deduction. This bill will be a huge step in the right direction for Eastern Connecticut homeowners. Y'all, specifically for Eastern Connecticut homeowners impacted by crumbling foundations, and ensure that this federal assistance is available for years to come. This is how I don't have a house in Connecticut. Why are we enacting federal legislation for the crumbling foundations for houses in Connecticut? Keeping up with Congress, y'all. Keeping up with Congress. And I looked into this a bit further because it's some mineral, and this is pyrite. I had to listen to the definition, the pronunciation of it. Let me see if we can hear it. Pyrrhotite. That's what this foundation is actually made of. It's a mineral that expands when exposed to water and oxygen. It says it's present in concrete, and it is in the foundations of at least 1,600 Connecticut and Massachusetts homes. The concrete can crack and crumble, and it can cost $150,000 to raise a house and remove and replace the foundation. So why is this federal legislation and not state legislation? And why are you not, going after the company that mixed this concrete? This is their product. Keeping up with Congress, y'all. This is I don't know if any of y'all live in Connecticut, but I'm not trying to spend tax dollars on Connecticut's on keeping up with Congress. Don't let me get on my soapbox about that one. HR 803, Protecting America's Wilderness and Public Lands Act. This is Representative Diane DeGette, Democrat out of Colorado. This bill provides for the preservation, conservation, and recreational use of public lands, including in Arizona, California, Maine, North Carolina, Oregon, Virginia, Washington, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. I told you I take special interest in food, air, water, and land. We can get the rest of this stuff right. We're going to debate it. We're going to have to fight over it. But when it comes to food, air, water, and land, we have to get it right. HR 803. HR 804 is the Family Act. The Family Act, Rosa DeLauro, Democrat out of Connecticut. It's legislation to create a permanent national paid family and medical leave program. Y'all, states that have states' rights, they are not going for this. Listen to this. The family would ensure that every worker, no matter the size of their employer or if they are self-employed or part-time, has access to paid leave for every serious medical event. It sounds good, but the reason right to work states, no. Yeah, the emergency paid leave provisions that partially expired at the end of last year helped to prevent covered workers from having to choose between their paycheck or their health when they needed to stay home, and help slow the spread of COVID-19. Y'all, these right to work states are not gonna go for that. Good try though. HR 804, Family Act, DeLauro, HR 804. We're almost there, y'all. This is our last bill for the evening. HR 805. HR 805 is the Layoff Prevention Act of 2021. DeLauro again, Rosa DeLauro, Democrat out of Connecticut. She must be a nice person. These Republicans not going for your policies. The Preventing Layoffs During a Public Health Emergency Act and the Layoff Prevention Act will provide federal support for states' work sharing program, which gives employers the flexibility they need to maintain their workforce and keep American workers on the job. Struggling companies will be able to reduce hours instead of their workforce, helping them save on rehiring costs, while employees will keep their jobs and receive a portion of unemployment insurance benefits to make up the lost wages. She nice. I don't know if Republicans like her too much. HR 805. Y'all, we are at the half hour. You know, my Thursdays are like Fridays for me because I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7:00 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. right here on Clubhouse, y'all, and right here on YouTube. You know, my call to action. If you have not gone to my website, please do support these broadcasts. This is a critical time in history, and traditional media is not giving voice to all the issues. Please donate to my weekly broadcast and let's make our voices heard. Please go to my website, y'all. It is TamaraShealy.com. Please go to the website, make a donation. You can always Cash App it if it's easier for you. And that's VTHE Tamara 4 FOR Georgia on Cash App. All right. And you know, my second one is HB 541, y'all. Next week, we will not be doing Keeping Up with Congress. I am hitting the road. I am going on the road to promote HB 541. I am going into these black spaces, white spaces, and we're going to talk about reparations, y'all. I told you we can continue to talk about it amongst ourselves, but we got to talk about it, you know, to the masses. They got to hear it. They got to understand it. They got to know what it is. So HB 541, I'm going on the road. Please go to the website, y'all. Please go to the website. We still need a little more money. We thought we were going to be okay, but our flyers and we got t-shirts, like we're serious, y'all. So we've gone over a little bit, but so we're a little bit short right now. Make a donation. Any amount will help. This is not going to be our first trip. I hope that this will be a trip that we are able to make weekly. That would be great if we're able to get out and stay out around the great state of Georgia and talk about HB 541. So please go to the website and help us stay on the road. Buy some gas, and we got a little small. We're gonna have to rent. We're renting a little small RV, so we're gonna be moving around, and we're going to be talking about reparations, and we're going to be talking about why this bill, HB 541, needs to be passed right here in the great state of Georgia. So that is my second ask, hb541.net. Please go to the website, hb541.net. Please make a donation, y'all. And of course, as you know, this is always brought to you by Withhold the Vote, where we're holding our elected officials and candidates accountable. We're harnessing our political power. It does not mean don't vote. Don't demonize this. It means we're going to be strategic. We're going to be intentional. We're not going to the polls and giving this thing away for free. We're voting for those that have our best interests, right? Right. You can go to the website. You can contribute there. You can be a part of what we're doing. Withholdthevote.org. We're doing the work. We're doing the work. We're committed to doing the work. So again, I won't see you here on YouTube. Clubhouse, there is I've been having a conversation about talking about reparations in a room for a few minutes on Monday, but I won't be here. We're keeping up with Congress, but I'm going to upload just videos after videos. Y'all going to know what I'm doing. You're going to see where I am. Y'all going to see the work being done around the great state of Georgia. So be on the lookout for that, and I will see you next week, y'all. Have a great weekend. Thank you for joining me tonight. Make sure you hit that share button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the notification button, and like. This is how we get these algorithms. This is how they know we are in this place, y'all. So y'all have a great evening, and I will see you real soon. Stay on the lookout for me. Y'all know I'll be all over social media, so just stay on the lookout, y'all. Have a good evening. I'll post your comments at the as we go out. Have a good weekend, and see you Saturday for the Saturday broadcast. It's at 11 a.m.